I get death threats, I get vile language, I get messages designed to make me want to go home and die. I have to ignore them.
People just need to have a little bit more compassion. You can vehemently disagree with somebody. It doesn't give you the right to be violent to someone. That's sort of common sense and goes without saying.
You can't threaten somebody in real life, in person, and you shouldn't be threatening them online either. Even if you disagree with their policy, even if you don't like what they're doing, threats and abuse like that have absolutely no place, and they need to be dealt with swiftly.
The level of the attacks and often the violent nature of the attacks is totally unacceptable.
Some documents revealed online earlier today after Freedom of Information request point to 11 death threats against Premier Rachel Notley. Were you aware of this, and how concerning is this for you? And I would love to also get a comment from Premier Kathleen Wynne, if she would, after.
I think it's hard to be a politician in the 21st century and not be aware of some of the hateful and intolerant discourse that goes on, particularly online. And I think it's obviously very troubling, and one hopes that we can continue to have political debate and disagreements as a country without falling into vicious and nasty attacks. Unfortunately, we see, particularly when it comes to women in positions of power, there are still levels of harassment and threats of violence and actual sexual violence in far too many workplaces, which is why we need to call this out. We need to continue to stand strongly and firmly against harassment, intimidation, and violence in the workplace, in our communities, in our homes. That's why this government has been so eager to put forward strong legislation and demonstrate that there is zero tolerance for the kind of hateful rhetoric that unfortunately we do see too often around us. That doesn't represent Canadians. I think Canadians understand that there is a broad range of diversity of backgrounds, but also diversity of opinions that make this country strong. And we should be able to move forward and disagree about the best way to go forward without falling into violence or hate.
Okay, great.
Well, let me just agree with everything that the Prime Minister has said. You know, it is very disturbing, the use of language, the tone of discussion online, and I think that, you know, I think social media is fantastic. There are so many good things about the way people can stay connected, but there are real challenges that we have in terms of the civility or the lack of civility that we see online. And, you know, what we're dealing with in terms of what's happening in Alberta is happening everywhere, you know, and misogyny is a reality. That is something that we have to acknowledge. And so in Ontario, we have tightened our rules. We have funded sexual assault and victim services. We have made sure that we do a public education campaign. We actually developed an public education campaign that has been used all over the country, in fact, to make it clear that although we've come a long way, we are certainly not there yet. And as a woman in politics, I can tell you that we are not there yet. I can tell you that this is something that we have to be vigilant about, and we're going to have to continue to raise our voices, because unless we do that, the permission that is granted online to say whatever without any boundaries, apparently, we're going to have to continue to be vigilant if that's going to stop.
Thank you very much.